Really what we're trying to accomplish today is we love this quote that is from Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. This technology, and we've got other people who are going to talk about technology and learning and development today. This technology, virtual reality, is what we're really trying to emphasize and make really a very valid and poignant point is engagement and getting people excited again about training. How many of you actually, while you have the reason why you're in your industry is because your passion and what you're trying to accomplish with families and have better outcomes. How many of you sometimes want and are desperate for a new tool, something that you can take out and share with your adult learners and get them excited as well? That's what this is all about. It's really about engagement, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Aviation and medical and the military has been using virtual reality for a long time, but the problem is that the benefits are well known, but the problem is it's expensive.
We're trying to help organizations where safety related injuries or fatalities or learning processes, procedures, and techniques are what keep people safe. These types of scenarios is our why and why we do what we do, because we know this is a technology that is going to be able to be a game changer. Specifically, everybody in this room is an emergency response personnel. Whether or not the public understands that, when you guys go into homes and when you interact with families, you are helping in an emergency situation. You wouldn't be there if everything was copacetic, right? And so how can we help make your jobs easier and more productive? We believe we have some of the solutions. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about why we're here today. And these are some of the topics that we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about very briefly the current state of the learning environment. We're going to talk about some examples of the technology and technological advancements that are available now, and why aren't we using them more in the learning and development arenas, okay? We're going to talk about how to apply them directly into learning and development and training scenarios. We're going to talk about some of the feedback, because what makes our business grow and our potential to be exponential is the ability to get feedback from different industry representatives, because we have cast our net very far and very wide with this technology because of the impact that it can have. And then we're going to talk about why is it important for you guys today.
When we talk about, for instance, immersive, what we can all kind of conceptualize what that means. It means to put somebody in the middle of something. So you've all been in role-playing, you've been in exercises, live exercises, and simulations. Well, immersive technology essentially takes digital content and puts you in the middle of it, by definition. And it can actually be, in the case of virtual reality, and that's a little bit narrower focus, it can come in two flavors. So we have the 360 live experience. Those are actually real people, as you'll see in the app when you get to demo it. And they're real things, and they're real processes and real procedures, and there's some very distinct advantages regarding that. Or it could be computer simulation. Now, computer simulation has some advantages also. It may be a hazardous condition that you wouldn't normally simulate. It could be something that you want to add a lot of interactivity. I want to be able to drive around. I want to be able to move around the scene to do a home assessment. Or I want to be able to do something that I wouldn't do in a live deal. So when we talk about virtual reality, we're really talking about two separate technologies, but they fundamentally come back to one. I'm putting you in the middle of an exercise, and I'm making you and you and you feel it.
What we're going to talk about now is kind of the current state of, and again, we caveat the fact that we're not learning and development specialists. So this is kind of what we've heard at the local, state, and federal level of clients that we've worked with, some of the challenges that they experience.
Last year in the United States, we spent $70 billion on training. Now, we would promote the fact that that money perhaps isn't as well spent as it could be. And the reason we say that is because we're spending an extraordinary amount of money. In fact, the United States, amongst all the countries in the world, spends proportionally far more money than anybody else. But the question is, what result are we getting out of it? That static, passive experience that you're all dealing with now ultimately has to change. Because what you need is you need more engagement, you need more interactivity, you need to put people in the middle of the content rather than just letting them sit there and watching.
So let's talk really quickly about, has anybody seen this cone of experience? Has anybody seen this before? Okay. The goal of every single person that's a trainer in this room is to get their adult learners and their staff into this 90 percentile, which is all about role play, simulation, hands-on experiences. The challenge is it's expensive, it doesn't happen very often, and you've got to have people that can work together, come together to make it interactive and to make it meaningful, okay? So the goal is there a technology that can help drive us into that 90th percentile and make it more scalable?
The ability to look at something that could potentially add engagement. And ultimately what everybody wants is higher retentions, because if you took that $70 billion a year and you increased it, the retention that you're getting out of it, even a few percentage points, that is a major improvement. And the ultimate problem is that we're actually dealing with old tools. I mean, PowerPoint came in 1990. That's what the majority of you use. And there is yes, you do live role playing, and those are awesome. The retention rates are really high in that. And we do presentations, and we just don't keep people engaged. And more importantly, we don't keep the younger demographic engaged.
How do you get rates to drive towards zero fatalities, zero injuries, zero incidences? Okay, that's what we're all trying to do with training, make things better and find improvements. The technology that we have today to make that happen isn't getting us there. So some of the questions and some of the issues that we have, it very much when we talk to local, state, and federal organizations, and please chime in here, budgetary constraints. There's never enough money, there's never enough resources, there's never enough time. This is a very common theme with everybody that we have conversations with. 30 to 40% of social workers, child welfare professionals, come out of the workforce within 2 years of being in this role. So can technology help us recruit and better train our social workers and our child welfare professionals to get them to get exposure to the roles and the responsibilities and what their job is going to entail? Get that exposure to them ahead of time when they're in the universities and they're going through their training. Give them real life scenarios so that they really understand what they're getting themselves into, because it's very expensive to recruit and to onboard students and bring them into these professional fields. And there's an opportunity here to cut down on that and to make sure we have the right people in the right jobs doing the right roles, and that they really understand what they're getting themselves into.
You know, public perception is something else that technology can help you with. We've talked to the ISP about state police about we'd love to do a day in the life of a police officer. People don't understand. They see everything on the news. They get sometimes a negative impression, especially in the last few years, about what's going on. Well, how would you like to put somebody in the shoes of a police officer so the average person could literally download an app and understand? Well, think about that same principle for your industry, for social work. I mean, and if you increase the perception of social work about what you do and the passion and the joys and everything that you get out of it, recruiting becomes so much easier. You're able to retain that talent because people understand you, and they understand, yeah, there's some challenges with it, but there's also joys and things that bring you to work every day.
We have a technology, and this technology will able to help bridge some of those gaps where people don't understand somebody else's perception on something. technology is extremely disruptive. It is taking over. Some people would say, 10 years ago, why the hell would I have a camera on my phone? I have a camera at home. I've got 2 cameras, let's say. Why would we use that? And people are always asking the question, do you really think virtual reality is going to be this big thing? It is going to be this big thing because technology has continued to evolve. It has continued to improve our lives and the way that we communicate and collaborate. It's going to continue to be disruptive, and virtual reality is on the cutting edge of being able to do that. It's the ability to have it in a mobile device and a mobile headset that's affordable, and that is where this is really a game-changing technology. Virtual reality, because of the affordability and scalability of the technology, will be able to have, instead of having presentations and information that may be really great sounding, but when you go back into your daily lives and you're trying to apply it into your day, you're not able to actually be able to do that because of maybe your regulations or what your policies and procedures dictate. So while at a higher level it might sound good and it might be something you want to engage with, it's not actually able to make that happen. These are some of the statistics thus far in 2017, and what's the most important that I wanted to make mention here is almost 95% of 14 to 19-year-olds are very excited about virtual reality technology. So as we're thinking of the next generations that are coming into the workforce, people need to be paying specific attention to the fact that these demographics are going to expect interactivity. They're going to expect technology in their learning and development environments. They are really desperate to have that social connection and interaction with technology. These are some more of the benefits of the technology. Empathy. It's an empathy-making machine. Where else can you teach somebody empathy? What other tool is out there that allows that capability? There's nothing out there that can do that right now. We can show somebody what an experience is like from somebody who's suffering from schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, when you have the multiple voices going on in your head, and when you're in a virtual reality environment. You can play with spatial audio. You can have the blurred vision. You can have the effects that people that are suffering from these conditions literally have. We can recreate those. And then you can put that headset on and really understand when a law enforcement or somebody that's in a public service role is trying to have a conversation with somebody that's suffering from these or having an episode. You can really understand how difficult it is to have a normal conversation. If you are trying to get people to come into this industry, because you have shortages in your industry right now, how do you get people excited about recruiting and get them excited about your industry? Give them an experience. Let them know what's a day in the life of a social worker. What's the day in the life of a law enforcement personnel? What does that really even look like? And let them experience those types of things. When we talk about mass adoption in that 3 to 5 years, everybody needs to understand something. When I talk about mass adoption, you're talking about the majority of people in the adoption curve, the majority of people have embraced this technology and are using it. So 3 to 5 years from now, what are organizations supposed to be doing? If there's a shortage of social workers and child welfare professionals, what are you going to do now to get them interested and get them engaged? Because in 3 to 5 years, the expectation is already set that virtual reality is being integrated into learning and development, into day-to-day life. So that 3 to 5 years, in a blink of an eye, you guys know how fast time goes, especially after 30.
When we talk about this technology and we talk about VR and we talk about a lot of different things, none of this technology is designed to replace existing curriculum. It's designed to supplement, it's designed to do a better job, it's designed to get people engaged. But it doesn't replace anything that you're doing now, it just adds to it.